Let me introduce myself. My name is Maya. I married my husband Olaf when I was 24 years old. 3 years later, our son was born, and we were living a happy life together as a small family. After our child was born, I went back to work, and we both tried our best to raise him. But despite our efforts, there was a big problem in my life, and that problem was my mother-in-law. She's always been a difficult person, the kind who likes to be in control. My husband, Olaf, was always careful around her, but when we first got married, it was really tough to deal with her. Olaf is the middle child of 3 siblings, and he's the only one who's married. His brothers are still enjoying their single lives, so I was the first daughter-in-law to enter the picture. My mother-in-law always saw herself as the center of the family. She even called herself the Madonna of the family, and since the family is mostly made up of men, she probably felt that she was the most important person. When I married Olaf, I suddenly became the enemy in her eyes. She couldn't believe that Olaf was getting married, and she once even joked that Olaf used to say he would marry her. It was weird, but I tried to brush it off. Olaf tried to stand up for me, saying, "No need to worry. Maya is a good cook, and we both have jobs. We'll take care of our house together." But my mother-in-law didn't like that at all. "No way. She makes you do the housework," she'd say. Olaf would always respond firmly, "Don't talk like that, Mom. We decide what's best for us." Olaf was great at standing up for me, and I appreciated it so much. But he also didn't always notice the subtle things his mother did. She was very good at hiding her true intentions. For example, whenever we visited Olaf's parents' house, my mother-in-law would insist on cooking all the meals. On the surface, it seemed like a normal thing, but she never let me help in the kitchen. Even when I offered, she would tell me not to do anything. The food always looked the same as it did on any other table, but because I wasn't allowed to help, I had no idea what was really in it. One time, I drank some soup that had a lot of tiny fish bones in it. I didn't realize it until it was too late, and it was so painful. Another time, there was some kind of bitter garlic mixed into a dish, and it tasted terrible. "Maya, are you okay?" Olaf asked me, noticing that I wasn't feeling well. "I think I have a stomach ache," I replied, trying to stay calm. "Oh, you don't like my food, do you?" my mother-in-law said, almost mocking me. Olaf, always protective, told her, "She's not feeling well, stop it." But my mother-in-law wouldn't let it go. "Maybe she's just pretending to be sick," she added, clearly trying to stir up trouble. "Stop it, Mom," Olaf said firmly. "Don't do that to someone who's not feeling well." But my mother-in-law was stubborn. "Fine, you're all on her side," she said with a huff. We didn't mean to take sides, but it was clear that things were never going to be easy with her. I had just made dinner for everyone, but something was clearly wrong. I noticed the strange looks and uneasy silence. Trying to break the tension, I said, "Don't worry, I'll eat it all." But before I could, my husband suddenly shouted, "No!" Startled, I asked, "You scared me. What's wrong? Why are you shouting?" He hesitated, then said, "I just can't let you eat something that's been cold." I tried to reassure him, saying, "Don't worry about it." But he didn't listen. Ignoring my mother-in-law's protests, he picked up the plate of meat and potatoes in front of me and threw the food away. "What the hell?" I gasped. My husband took a bite and immediately spat it out. "What is this? Vinegar? It tastes so different from what I'm used to." This wasn't the first time something like this had happened. I recalled a time when I was served soup with tiny fish bones that made it almost impossible to eat. "Mom, what's going on?" my husband asked, clearly upset. "I didn't do anything. You must have misunderstood," my mother-in-law replied, but my husband wasn't convinced. "Of course not," he said. "This meat and potato dish is terrible. Try some." He tried to hand the plate to his father, but my mother-in-law snatched it away. "If it's that bad, you don't have to eat it anymore," she snapped. "No, that's not what I meant," my husband responded. "I'm asking why Maya's food is so bad." "I have no idea," she said, but it was obvious she was hiding something. "I think she did it on purpose," my husband muttered. Finally fed up, I said, "Enough. It's unbelievable that you never let me in the kitchen. And now, seeing you take the plate like that, I think you're up to something." "Yeah, I think so too," my husband agreed. Okay, I'm done. I'm never cooking a meal here again. In the end, my mother-in-law never admitted to what she had done, nor did she apologize. My husband used this as an opportunity to stop visiting his family, and honestly, I was relieved. The rest of the day passed peacefully, but then something shocking happened that I never expected. One day, I was out of town for a business trip. After a long meeting, I was heading back to my hotel when I saw something that made me freeze. There, on the street, was my mother-in-law, holding hands with a man who looked like he was in his 20s. I couldn't believe my eyes. No way, I whispered to myself. I didn't know who the man was, so I decided to follow them. They walked into a cafe and sat down next to each other, not across, but side by side. I didn't hesitate. I took out my phone and started filming. As I watched, their faces got closer, and I quickly turned away. I'm not going to watch this, I thought. About half an hour later, they left the cafe and disappeared into a hotel. The next day, I went home and waited until our son was asleep. Then, I turned to my husband and said, "Hey, you don't want to see your parents doing something shameful, do you?" He looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" he asked. I took a deep breath and said, "I was thinking about whether I should tell you or not. I saw something yesterday, and depending on how you feel, I might delete the videos and pictures I took." He shrugged. "I don't care." I was surprised. "You're okay with seeing something shameful from your own parents?" I asked. "What do you mean?" he asked, starting to look concerned. "It was your parents," I said, watching his reaction. "Oh my God, was it my mom?" he asked, his voice a mix of shock and realization. "Yeah, I guess so," I said, nodding. "What did she do to you?" he asked, now very serious. "Nothing to me," I assured him, then told him everything that had happened the day before. He listened quietly, then said, "Oh, seriously?" I nodded and handed him my phone. "I took videos and pictures," I said. He looked at the screen and shook his head. "Oh my God, that's disgusting. I can't believe my mom is doing this. How old does she think she is?" I was surprised by how calm he was. "You're not shocked?" I asked. "No, not really," he replied. "I mean, it's not her first time." "What?" I asked, stunned. "Yeah, it happened a long time ago. She used to cheat on my dad when she was traveling a lot, or at least that's what she claimed. My brother was still in middle school back then. Dad forgave her, and they tried to rebuild their relationship." "Oh, I see," I said, processing this new information. "Well, I guess they won't be rebuilding it anymore," he added. "I think I should have an agency look into it. Can I use some money for that?" "Of course," I said, feeling a sense of relief. "It's worth it." "Thank you," he said, giving me a reassuring smile. "I'll let you know how it goes," my husband said as we decided to move forward with hiring an agency to look into his mother's behavior. It took about a month to get the results, and when the report finally came in, my husband was absolutely stunned. "Let's take the report to Mom," he suggested. "Is that really necessary?" I asked. "Why don't you just give it to your father and let him decide?" But my husband shook his head. "That won't make us feel better. Maya, Mom has done some really bad things to you. Let's get our revenge. It's the only way I'll feel better. I should do something for my dearest wife, shouldn't I?" "Oh, Olaf," I sighed. To be honest, I wanted to see my mother-in-law lose her mind in front of me. After everything she had done to me, I felt like she deserved it. Olaf had done a good job getting the evidence, and now it was time to confront her. But first, he wanted to talk to his dad. "I'll tell my dad about this before we go," Olaf said. "I don't want to hit him with the truth out of the blue." "Yeah, I think that's a good idea," I agreed. So, we left our son at my parents' house for the weekend and headed to Olaf's parents' place. As soon as we arrived, my mother-in-law started scolding me as usual. But this time I didn't care. I knew that today would be the last time she could treat me like this. The plan was to confront her with the evidence over dinner. However, my mother-in-law surprised us by launching an attack of her own first. As we sat down at the table, she smiled and announced, "Let's start the meal." But instead of serving everyone, she served the smallest portion of food imaginable and said, "It doesn't seem like she likes my food, so no food for her." I just prepared the meal for the family members, Wives are not included, after all. Okay, fine, I said, trying to keep my emotions in check. But inside, my heart was screaming with joy. I glanced over at Olaf and my father-in-law, and they both nodded in agreement. This was it. Now was the time to reveal everything. It's okay, I said calmly. I'll eat what I prepared. But then I paused and started searching through my bag. Wait a minute, here it is. Mother, I found this, I said, pulling out an envelope. Well, I can't eat this, I continued. But oh yes, this was a present for Mother. I totally forgot about that. I handed the envelope to my mother-in-law, who accepted it with a smug look, despite making a snide comment about me being smart sometimes. But the moment she saw what was inside the envelope, her hands stopped moving, and her body started shaking. What's the matter? Olaf asked, noticing her reaction. It's nothing, she stammered. Is it nothing? Olaf pressed. What did she give you? Nothing special, my mother-in-law replied, trying to downplay it. But Olaf wasn't buying it. Come on, let's see, he said, taking the envelope from her. As she tried to scoop some rice with her chopsticks, her hands were trembling so much that the rice spilled out of the bowl. Mom, tell us the truth, Olaf demanded. He took the report from the envelope and began to read it. What's this? It looks like an old woman is buying a young man for a date. You should check the other side and the back too. On the back of the report, I had included pictures of my mother-in-law with several young men. At first, we thought she was just having an affair with one guy, but the agency discovered that she was involved with several young men. You really don't learn, do you? Olaf said, disgusted. I can't believe all my hard work was turned into this mess. I think you know what comes next. I'm divorcing you. Wait a minute, my mother-in-law cried. This isn't cheating. It's just for fun. I'm not wasting money on something serious like that. It's just harmless fun. It's disgusting, Olaf shot back. And these guys are even younger than us. Oh my God. By the way, he continued, Frederick and Gustav know about this too. We're all cutting you off. And I'm cutting you off as well. With that, Olaf turned his back on his mother, leaving her to face the consequences of her actions. Don't worry, Olaf said to his mother. All you have to do is accept it. I know you don't have enough money to pay me alimony, so in exchange, just never show up in front of us again. Wait a minute, his mother protested. It wasn't just a casual date. I was just trying to experience different things in life. Right, Maya? You go out to eat with other men sometimes, don't you? No, not at all, I replied firmly. I don't spend money on men who aren't my family. It's such a waste. If I had extra money, I'd spend it on Olaf or Little John. Don't do this to me, she pleaded. You're a woman too, aren't you? Yes, I am, I said. But what's your point? I'm saying it's never enough to just be a wife or a mother, is it? She tried to explain. That's disgusting, I responded, shocked by her words. If you feel that way, why didn't you just stay single? You, she spat. I bet you would cheat sometime too. Don't you insult Maya? Olaf snapped. She's nothing like you. We all know that. Seeing that the situation was beyond repair, my father-in-law stepped in. Well, he began, this is a good opportunity for me to tell you something. I was planning to divorce you when I retired. It's good timing. His wife looked stunned. Huh, she managed to say. I forgave you when I found out about your affair a long time ago, he continued. But you didn't learn from it. You kept doing the same thing. I knew, actually. On the days you were out, dinner would be frozen food. You didn't think I would notice, did you? But that's what you do. You blame everyone else for your mistakes. He paused and then said, It's a miracle our sons turned out to be good people, considering they had a mother like you. Yeah, Olaf agreed. That's because we three looked at you as a negative example. I think you're the reason Frederick and Gustav are still single. If someone had a spouse like you, they'd be seriously screwed up. Hey, Olaf added with a smirk. Oh, sorry, my bad. You were that spouse once, weren't you? My father-in-law didn't hesitate to take the next step. This is the start of something new. Now, get out of my house. I'm not giving you any of my retirement money. Wait a minute, she protested. I'm supposed to get half of it and alimony too. Alimony can only be claimed for up to 3 years back, he replied coolly. Even if I only have to pay for the last 3 years you were cheating on me, it's going to be plenty of money. My mother-in-law paused, looking dazed and confused. Then, without another word, she turned and left the house. Where is she going? I asked. She must be going back to her parents' house, my father-in-law replied. After that day, my mother-in-law never came back to our house, and she and my father-in-law got divorced. She was left with nothing and moved back in with her parents. Without money to support her lifestyle, she was cut off from the young men she had been seeing and ended up living at home for a while. My husband's grandparents didn't let her laze around, though. They made her work full-time. Now, she works at a supermarket near their house. My father-in-law is a very generous man, but my mother-in-law was foolish to betray him. With her gone, our family is finally in perfect harmony. My brothers-in-law, Frederick and Gustav, who never used to visit, started coming around more often. Recently, they've even been talking about getting married. I'm so happy for them. Everyone in the family now has a big smile on their face, and I'm thrilled to share that I'm pregnant with our second child. I'm going to continue to put my family first in my life, making sure they come before anything else. It's sad to have had a mother-in-law like that, but it seems that people who have affairs often lose their sense of right and wrong. Now, my father-in-law can finally enjoy his later years in peace. I hope he can live the rest of his life with the happiness he deserves. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like this story. See you in the next video.